artificial intelligence in financial services. That's what we're looking at now. We have seen AI in use in the financial services space. You talk of AI in loan underwriting, in investment management, portfolio optimization, risk management, among other aspects of the financial services that are being transformed by artificial intelligence. So today, or this hour, we're looking at how AI is improving the financial services. Kgosi Molefe, employee experience, resilience engineering at Standard Bank, is going to take us through the presentation. Kgosi is an IT professional with over 14 years experience in technology and digital transformation, working across various industries such as telecommunications, healthcare, public sector, banking and finance, petrochemical, among others. And he possesses a strategic analysis capabilities to undertake, deliver, inform, manage, drive organizational expectations. And he is a 4IR evangelist, an AI professional, public speaker, and we very excited that he is going to talk about this very important subject this afternoon. Kgosi, welcome. We look forward to your presentation.
All right. Thank you very much, Zenzele, and thank you for everybody to join us, as we give you more insights of what is happening in the artificial intelligence space, a lot of people are speaking about it. Artificial intelligence, this, 4IR, this. I think we saw when everybody was on the bandwagon, even our elected individuals were very excited about this, but little did anybody know how to basically implement it, create the strategy of how to go about it, and to also build the skills in going about it. And I think one of the most important things, and I think what we've seen the industry doing, is that we've seen that in financial services, they were quick to actually adopt this technology. I mean, it's a combination of a whole lot of technologies coming together. And what I want to speak about today is that I want to actually showcase the case studies as well as the interesting problems that have been solved using artificial intelligence. In my consulting days, I actually did it for quite a lot of financial services and insurance companies where implemented either models, where actually implemented things using different types of technologies to create an AI value chain that was actually able to help either the banks or the insurance companies to either transform their business model or align to the new business model that they want based on the strategy that has been created. Right. So I want to talk about the interesting problems used, the problems solved using AI, and some of them cannot be in the eye of the public because it's something that I think from an operational perspective, we know how it actually hits the profit and loss of the company. For example, financial crime. Financial crime is not something that is spoken about so highly in the public, like you would find the hijacking on an armed robbery being reported. And one of the things that we did, and I was lucky enough to actually be part of this solutioning and also be part of the implementation thereof of such a nice thing that we used. And we know that financial crime speaks to a whole lot of things of people defrauding, people trying to manipulate the banks, or trying to manipulate systems like your debit order collection, which is something that we've seen now come out highly in the news, on the newspaper, where a father and a son were arrested for swindling the consumer out of 18 million, by creating some certain fictitious debit orders by acquiring bank accounts in whichever scrupulous way that they did. Now, financial crime due diligence actually makes sure that this thing doesn't happen. And that's why you see even your debit check that you utilize right now and it's something the Payment Association of South Africa has actually instituted, actually uses financial crime due diligence, right? Because there are certain things and in the process that actually happens in that. What has that done, right? It has allowed an AI bot to automate the whole value chain of fin crime by making sure that there's enhanced due diligence and report generation that is used. And it will actually use natural language processing to give a based risk scoring. Now, why do I say a based risk scoring? Is that there are certain information and certain key check gates within a process that allows a debit order to actually be deemed either a true debit order, right? Or for it to be deemed a debit order that is not actually qualified to meet the criteria to actually debit your account. And that's why sometimes you'd get a notification or a message that's asking you to improve a debit order. At first, it used to be an application based, but we know that from an application based perspective, we still have quite a lot of people of born before technology, as they would say, BBTs, and they're more affluent in, or can I say, maybe more educated in utilizing their SMS response keys than anything, and that's we've seen also going into that area. So now, to keep a long story short, is that you can see how AI and looking at different assets, and I think when I go into the use cases and the case study of just how we onboard a customer utilizing artificial intelligence on how we actually know the customer that we're getting in terms of allocating him to the right, how can I say, banking group, etc., how it actually goes in later on, right? So those are one of the nice things that I've done. Now, explaining that, then we obviously looked at how can we, there's a lot of also things that are happening in trade finance. How can we use artificial intelligence to actually respond to the trade finance transformation? We know that currently things are very liquid and they're very on demand, right? We see things going from a buyer to the buyer's bank, and we've seen actually now you actually see, right, with certain things that are happening, which I was actually even fortunate enough to be part of that project. It's called the electronic deed registry system. Now, the electronic deed registry system connects a whole lot of other data points, right? And those data points are actually going to create an automated process. And through that automated process, it's able to say, certain things that need to be done. And trade finance transformation speaks to that. It speaks about you trying to also, let's say, you want to acquire a home loan or you want to acquire business financing. Sometimes there's a whole lot of things that you have to put in, submit, and all of that. Now, by using different data points, like for example, Home Affairs National Identification System, your credit bureaus, all in one trigger point. Utilizing your FICA documentation that is there, going into the central, what you call this thing, the central database for the central supplier database for from a government perspective, going into your SARS, making sure that it actually gets all those trigger points within five seconds by utilizing utilize five to actually 35 seconds by utilizing robotic process automation, right? B, using cognitive analytics to make sure that there's proper referencing of tables and making sure that it can actually correlate all that data into basically your case file for what you want to do to improve the turnaround time of reducing any risk of anybody trying to do any regulatory violations by getting your data in order to actually make sure that the whole value chain of what you're trying to acquire can actually be done. For example, with the home loan process, is that obviously you log a home loan, right? Automatically, if you're already in a consumer of our bank, is that it triggers that whole thing of collecting everything on your behalf, where you don't have to actually even go into sending your statements, sending your pay slips. We can actually go as far as 12 months to actually see if there's any change, improvements, or whatever might be in your in your income and your disposable income, using certain algorithms to read your home loan statement. From there on, coming to a point where as our bond approval around bond approval rate is actually quite higher, which means that we've reduced our risks, right, and our exposure to fraud, because there's certain people who actually hand out fictitious statements. We've seen it happen in order for them to acquire more credit or even start buying cars or whatever it might be. So we've turned the turnaround time by utilizing the very same principle of trade finance to make sure that obviously we use machine learning, but we also use deep learning in order for us to actually reoccur and build better algorithms that allow us to actually respond to the client much quicker. Now, speaking about something that responds to the client much quicker is that cognitive claims. We all know, and I think everybody has had their fair share of insurance companies here, right? And I can tell you right now, by show of hands, everybody's going to raise their hand how much of a headache that becomes. So we created a process that's called cognitive claims, right? And it basically leverages a whole lot of things right there to create a whole artificial intelligence value chain, leveraging things like your natural language processing, image processing, using your assistants, which are chatbots, right? And what did that do? And now it actually even went to an even better extent where it utilizes OCR, which is optical character recognition, because there's certain forms that a person needs to fill in and all of that, whereas you can just write down the details on a piece of paper, take a picture of it, image correct, ICR and OCR working together, and then from there on, we just need certain details. We tell you what the details are that you can get from your cognitive claim process. You write them down as a consumer, take a picture of it, upload it, and then Bob's your uncle. Where a customer, but for example, where a customer meets with an accident, we all living in a liquid world where we're utilizing our smartphones, and I think they are proving to be smartphones in this day, in this digital age. Whereas you've got the different app that you load there. You load the insurance app. By loading the insurance app, we can actually now launch the conversation with the chatbot. You launch obviously based on certain algorithms that we utilize, frequently asked questions. We are able to converse with you based on certain key questions we ask about the accident. We ask you to take the images and upload the images. When you upload the images are therefore processed. After being processed, right, we immediately, now, we did say that artificial intelligence is not there to remove a person, but it's there to make the person's life easier. Like, for example, your assessors now are no longer coming to look at your car anymore, right? They're no longer coming to look at your car. Your assessors are looking at the extent of the damage. They're looking at the police report that has been filed, right? And that's one of the things that we utilize from an OCR perspective, because from a police report perspective, you are writing it down, right? Take that, put it, read what your case is, verify on the other side the other person's insurance company. Obviously, they will go send a request based on whose fault it is, but that's an internal investigation in order to get back your excess, should there be any excesses that are payable, or should they see that they are the ones that they're at fault. Then obviously an email is sent to you from accepting all the information that you send. And once you accept everything that you accept, that this is what we are paying out, take it to your nearest. This is the quote that we got from different codes. Actually, it generates that, actually even does supplier relationship management, whereas it's sent to different suppliers based on the image and all of that. They do their assessment, and we know that insurance is no longer about panel beating, but that some areas are fixable, some areas are replaceable. What do? They come up with the best quote and all of that, and they'll tell you where to take your car based on the area you sent. And I mean, that whole process allows you to actually have a 72-hour turnaround time, right, of you from the time that you reported your accident to the time that the payment is dispersed for the car to actually be collected, and obviously all other things like collecting your rental car and all of that. So we can see how artificial intelligence has brought things all together in what it basically does. So those are the things that have basically the top use cases that we actually looked at, basically using the interesting problems that have been solved using artificial intelligence. Now we can actually see how the value chain also works in financial services. We've obviously got a service and a digital command center where certain tickets are sent to us that we need to respond to, and how artificial intelligence has actually allowed us to increase user satisfaction and customer loyalty by using a knowledge base through machine learning, deep learning, and obviously correlating each data in order to respond to you as a customer. Whereas we've created digital platforms where we can have intelligent advisors. Now, what intelligent advisors do is that if you've got a bank account you need to open, or you're looking for a certain product and all of that, is that it allows AI bots to drive interactive campaigns for the bank. It allows the AI bots to actually advise on any products that you would need from an insurance perspective, and it actually allows us internally to have an intelligent Salesforce agent that knows what is a customer's needs based on what a customer is searching. And I think lately you've seen that if you're utilizing social media platforms, or especially social media platforms, is that you'd be busy looking for cars. All of a sudden, when you go check who's doing what on Instagram, you'd find that now it's suggesting certain car dealerships who've got a paid sponsorship in order to sponsor to advertise on that platform. It starts suggesting cars that you need, that you can look at based on your previous search history, based on your cookies and browsers, whatever it might be. And that's where you see now it's assisting you in the process of actually doing certain things. And then obviously we have augmented reality and AI, and you will see right now with a whole lot of financial services institutions are trying to go the augmented reality way of doing banking, right? And trust me, everybody here is in for a ride in the next 2 years in terms of what's going to happen with augmented reality, especially with the technology starting to become very, very cheaper. You don't have to walk into the banks that much, and you can see some banks are even scaling down their branches. Some banks are even closing down their branches because they bring in the bank to the palm of your hands, right? And you will see with augmented reality and artificial intelligence how you can do everything from a banking, how you can actually now start starts with the digitizing of a deposit slip, because most of us will go into a bank to either, if we've got a tuck shop, to deposit money into our bank. Now something that you will see is that it's already been taken to an ATM function. But right now, you can actually say that this is the amount that I'm going to deposit in the next 7 days. Whereas you'll start even seeing that even from an Uber, that's why we're trying to give the Uber feel to that, where you'll have a collection of your cash, obviously to a certain amount to actually alleviate the risk, allowing that people to come and collect the cash from you and actually bank it from you because you've already requested for that service on your phone and you've actually created a deposit. Isn't that interesting? I mean, look at the Uber of services coming to from a banking perspective. So yeah, these are one of the top use cases that are delivering outcomes. Right? So I actually want to speak about one significant use case that is very, very pertinent, and is at times tend to be seen as a very as a very tedious one. And I think if this use case was to be used in every government department in terms of how they use they they apply this to when a customer walks in the door, especially for home affairs, or when you're going to pay a traffic fine or renew your license, whatever it might be. This is how we've done it from a client onboarding and knowing your customer, but just using business process automation. And the proposed technologies there were basically robotics, machine learning, and also a natural language processing, as well as OCR, in order to make sure that you get the whole value chain in a shorter amount of time. There's a lot of information. We live in an information age. The information is there. Let us utilize the information to actually make sure that the process from a customer or consumer perspective or a citizen perspective is quite quick. Now, one of the things of number one of knowing your customer is that internally, a team manager, let's say, for example, you applied for a home loan or a car, there's a team manager who would assign the request to an analyst, a vehicle asset verification vehicle asset finance analyst, or send it to a verification analyst from a home loan perspective, where the analyst will check for any missing information, right? And that whole process is automated. Okay, it has become robotized, meaning that once a trigger, and here where we've got the 1KIC, we can basically, I just want to put my laser pointer here. We can look at this 1KIC as the beginning of the process or the request of the product, right? Once you request the product, automatically everything is sent to the team manager, but it's automated because, I mean, there's hundreds and thousands of those applications or requests that are coming in. Automated to the checking of the analyst for any missing information, and that is robotized because you check if they're checking for any information that is missing there. And if there's any missing information, then it will basically either trigger a no, meaning that certain things need to be done. They have to be screened, and verification needs to be checked if there's any documents that are missing. And if there isn't, it obviously will start kickstarting the whole process again. Now, if there's no missing information, right, it says, can we create any, if there's any missing information, if there's no missing information, obviously it goes there. If there's any missing information, then it'll basically follow this thing and make sure there's data, correct data checks and data input validations that are there. Now, if there's no missing information, then everything goes to, basically we look at what the Know Your Customer analyst used to do. It will enter all the fields and all the data into KYC. We no longer have to do that, right? What has to be done is that because of machine learning and natural language processing and all the data algorithms that are there, it actually also robotizes and automates the whole process to actually go to a point whereas it'll actually send the email to the team, send it to the business, the different analysts, and make sure that everything is basically done. And then there's some verification that will be done from an OCR perspective, also using natural language processing. And then you start seeing that now from a credit perspective, because of the intelligent credit system that are there any hits on this credit scoring for this person, and what is their disposal to credit or whatever it might be. Then it actually recalculate the risk scores, obviously utilizing anything that algorithms that are running in the background, and then it'll basically send the working information to the checkers for review. And the only thing that they do here, and this is where you can see why it frees up people's time, the only thing that they have to do is review, check if the risk scoring is all right and everything, and just validate and accept it, and then send the request to the compliance team to actually also trigger another process of checking for any compliance. And then thereafter, it will actually say that this is how the customer is in good standing, or what's happening with the customer. What is it that you can best advise the customer to do from the things that they've done? And then from there on, you now have got a 360-degree view of what is happening with your customer, which is one of the things that back in the days was that's actually implemented at our revenue services that give you a 360-degree view of a taxpayer, and which is a continuous process that is happening there. And then you can see how artificial intelligence is also basically helping in that. So yeah, that's the interesting things that have been done in financial services. And yeah, those are the interesting projects that I've been involved in. And we have basically come to the end of our presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Kgosi. Very interesting stuff there. I think you said a lot of things that are very, very important. You speak of, I think, financial crime due diligence, and the importance of AI being used there in the KYC process. But I'm just thinking of the cases when you look at the data breaches that we have been seeing, being compromised, data being compromised, and all that. And are we not dealing with criminals that are sophisticated, who are who are using probably AI also to counter our initiatives, to manage risk within our banking environment or services. Or we pretty sure that, well, going forward, with AI being implemented right, we will see an end to this. So it's a vicious cycle where these people from time to time, they succeed. We try to counter that, they counter it, and it's just an ongoing thing.
So I think that is we see a lot of data breaches, and where are the data breaches happening? At all
Yeah,
institutions that make money, right? Um, nobody's gonna do a data breach at the community or at the Department of Social Development, right?
yeah,
Because
yeah,
you don't have the entity relationship models or data sets that actually speaks to the net worth of a person, that actually allows you to take that data and utilize geographical information services to actually locate that group of people, and knowing that, if you were to hold, we know ransomware has been quite something that's been happening. If you were to hold that data ransom, how is
yeah,
that data going to translate to business value for you as a hacker? And we see that happening worldwide. And that's why you saw, after the access to information bill was handed out, what happened? We started having the global data policy regulation coming out, and there are other policies that are actually going to come out. And in actual fact,
yeah,
from a legal perspective, lawyers that are dealing with IT law right now, which has become very of a realm, or a profession, whereby we're depending quite a lot on them to make this thing prosecutable, because people right now are getting away with this more than any other crime that you'd actually
mm,
see. Is
mm,
that some things are not announced in the public, but it has even went to an extent where, as individuals now, they don't even go to it at a large scale. When you go to them at a large scale, it flags a whole lot of things. So now people are starting to directly come to you, where they started tapping and blocking people's phones, blocking their SIM cards, that you can't even make calls outside, and they start linking you to certain relationships. Like, they would know who your wife, who your kids is, what their number is, because we share that information when we register our cell phones.
mm,
Now, one thing that I like about the telecommunications company is that, after we saw that whole thing that has happened in Nigeria with this terrorist group, right? We've seen that there's been a whole lot of control and a whole lot of things that have been put in. Artificial intelligence is utilized to make sure that, certain SIM cards, when they bought from a certain area, we can actually track against that. Certain SIM cards are activated in a certain area. Why are they activated in this? These are things that we are sharing in our
mm,
in our
mm,
communities of practice that we're talking about. From an account being open, how was the account open? Who is opening the account? Why are they opening the account? There's a 6-month tracking period or more that looks at the deposits that are going in there, which allows certain things to be triggered to SARS, that, hey, watch, this is what's happening. And I think the most difficult challenge and the most interesting challenge that we want to do is that we created a a new we've created something called Bitcoin as IT professionals, which is cryptocurrency, and it utilizes blockchain. But now, how do we ensure that this thing is monitored and ensure that there's no illicit trade that is happening there? Because there's a lot of illicit trade that is happening. And how can we use certain
yeah,
data models to make sure that we cut down on that? So there's a lot of things that are happening to ensure
yeah,
that, apart from data being stolen, how do we make sure that, even when the data is stolen,
yeah.
how to respond to that theft, so it doesn't
Mm.
actually materialize or become monetized to a certain extent.
Okay, great, awesome, awesome. I think there's a question here. I think it says that, well, I have a question. Recently, it has been revealed that AI models are prone to adversarial attacks. How are you tackling this issue?
All right. Thanks for that, Kudzai. So you know what basically happens. I think that was pure, and I think when new methodologies are introduced in terms of how do we work, like your DevOps and all of that. I think one thing that we have seen, and that's why we've got DevSecOps, meaning that it's development, security, and operations, right? Previously people wouldn't follow the right change management processes to develop models or even deploy them into production. They would omit security in it because we admit the IT sec guys or the cyber sec guys. We find ourselves those things actually being weak and being penetrated. We know develop. Sorry if there's any developers here. Once upon a time, me myself as well. We are lazy. We don't want to put in complex passwords when we're creating our code, right? We want to create certain passwords. And sometimes because we don't follow the right IT security principles when we're doing that, we get used to being sloppy. You know, it's like teenagers used to not cleaning their room. They get used to that. And because they get used to that, then they are prone to certain dangers, stepping on a plug while walking barefoot. It's the very same thing with these AI models that were easily penetrated from an IT security perspective. It's because they never actually encapsulated or containerized the code, or they never used the code that they are using in a serverless environment. So it actually makes it very prone for them to do that. But you see a whole lot of things from a cloud and security perspective are actually clamping down on that and allowing that, you know what, there's better control and there's better governance. And it also just goes back to the processes that you have in how you deploy things into a working environment. Plain and simple.
Yeah, yeah. Kgosi, thank you so much. I think we have, even taken a lot of time for
Yeah.
from our panel discussion as well. But thank you so much for that wonderful presentation. We're going to take a coffee break, if you like, and then we will do our panel discussion where we're going to look at developing an AI strategic framework for your AI implementation. So, yeah, let's take a coffee break. Maybe let's meet at 3 p.m. if that is fine. And then so please don't go away. So if you still have some burning questions, Kgosi will also be part of the panel discussion, so you can still ask him your questions. Thank you so much. See you now.